Imagine your smartphone being built 2,000 years ago, using nothing but bronze gears. No electricity, no battery, no screen. Yet it contains a processor that knows every movement in the sky, down to the exact second. In 1900, when sponge divers emerged from the water in terror, thinking they had seen rotting corpses on the seabed, they had actually touched the greatest secret in human history. This wasn't just a shipwreck. It was a lost future, forgotten at the bottom of the ocean, that could have changed the entire course of history. If you're ready, we are diving into the depths of history's most impossible object, the Antikythera Mechanism. The year is approximately 60 or 70 BC. A massive Roman ship is struggling against the fierce waves of the Aegean Sea. The ship was likely carrying loot for Julius Caesar's victory celebrations. Marble statues, priceless jewelry, and massive bronze works of art. But the storm prevailed. The ship sank into the dark waters off the coast of the island of Antikythera. For 2,000 years, it waited there in silence, until the Easter week of 1900. Captain Dimitrios Kondos and his crew took refuge on the small island while escaping a storm. When the storm subsided, diver Elias Stadiatis dove into the sea. When he surfaced a few minutes later, there was pure terror in his eyes. "The bottom is full of dead people and horses everywhere," he shouted. What the divers saw was not a massacre, but giant statues overgrown with algae. Recovery efforts began. During months of labor, priceless treasures were brought up. But among all this splendor was a muddy, rusty piece of metal the size of a shoebox that no one cared about. It was moved to a museum warehouse, and not a single person looked at it for 2 full years. Who could have known that a 1-centimeter gear inside that rusty heap would render every modern history book obsolete? When the rusty metal dried and broke apart, the sight that emerged shocked the scientific world. Interlocking bronze gears with millimeter precision. This was impossible. Because according to history as we knew it, humanity would have to wait another 1,500 years for a mechanical device of this complexity to be invented. This device had 30 different gear wheels, and these weren't just simple wheels. The first example of the differential gear system used in the axles of modern cars was right here. Engineers had imprisoned the rhythm of the sky in metal. The greatest mystery lay in the movements of the moon. As the moon orbits the Earth, its speed is constantly changing. It speeds up sometimes and slows down at others. The genius who built the Antikythera had noticed this irregularity. To solve this, they created a mechanism called a pin and slot. By placing one gear slightly offset over another, they managed to perfectly mimic the variable speed of the moon. This was proof that the mathematics of the universe had been solved 1,800 years before Newton explained the laws of gravity. It wasn't just the moon. The position of the sun and the celestial dances of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn were all inside this box. This device was the supercomputer of the ancient world. Years later, as technology advanced, X-ray scans revealed another secret hidden inside the device. A hidden text consisting of more than 3,500 characters. This wasn't a prophecy or a sacred text. It was a user manual. The dials on the back of the device regulated not just the heavens, but social life as well. For example, it calculated exactly when the Olympic Games would begin, down to the second. But most terrifying of all was its ability to predict solar and lunar eclipses years in advance. The scans even showed that it calculated exactly what hour the eclipse would occur, and even what color the sky would turn at that moment. So, who built this? When some scientists followed the tracks, the clues led back to the school of the great genius Archimedes. If this device was the work of Archimedes or his students, the intelligence of the ancient world was far, far beyond what we call primitive. They didn't just look at the sky and see gods. They looked at the sky and saw a functioning machine. Now, let's stop and ask the most crucial question. What if this ship had never sunk? What if this device had reached Rome safely, and this technology had spread across the world? Perhaps the Industrial Revolution would have begun not in the 18th century England, but in the 1st century Mediterranean. Humanity might have experienced the printing press, steam engines, and perhaps even the digital revolution 1,000 years earlier. But knowledge is fragile. An entire civilization's accumulation can vanish in an instant through wars, fires, and shipwrecks. After the Antikythera Mechanism, the world had to wait until the tower clocks of the 14th century to see similar mechanical complexity again. Humanity stood still, even regressed, for a full 1,400 years. Knowledge does not always move forward. Sometimes a massive library burns. Sometimes a ship carrying the smartest people sinks, and the world is plunged into darkness. Today, the Antikythera Mechanism sits silently in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. Those rusty bronze fragments whisper this to us. Our past was much more intelligent than we imagine. While we think we are at the pinnacle of civilization, we might actually just be rediscovering knowledge that was once lost. Which technology that we possess today do you think will look like a miracle to people 2,000 years from now? Or what information that is very ordinary to us today will be completely forgotten in a future disaster? Who knows what else lies in the depths of the ocean? Perhaps the next discovery will rewrite all of history once again. Until then, keep wondering.